Hey guys, Sim Review here. This is part 2 of Carlisle's backstory. The Coven's cover story changed. Edward began to be introduced as Esme's brother. In many ways, however, Edward regarded Carlisle as his father and Esme as his mother. Carlisle now had more than the companion he longed for. He had a family. Carlisle wasn't expecting to get his coven to get any bigger, but one night, while on his way to work at the hospital in Rochester, New York, he discovered a nearly lifeless body of Rosalie Hale lying in the road. She was beaten, assaulted, and left for dead. Struck by the waste of a beautiful young life, Carlisle brought Rosalie home, transformed her, hoping to make it back in time. One day she might be a companion for Edward. 2 years later, Rosalie only reclusantly admitted to the vampire life. The relationship Carlisle hoped would spark between her and Edward hadn't happened. So when Rosalie carried a dying Emmett McCartney to Carlisle and begged Carlisle to change him, Carlisle did as asked by Rosalie. Wanted a companion of her choosing. Carlisle felt he could make amends to her in this way. At this point, Carlisle and his family moved to Washington State on the West Olympic Peninsula. To his surprise, he discovered a local native tribe, American tribe, who had the ability to transform into wolves, the Quileutes. Had previous experience with the vampires, whom they called the Cold Ones, and they considered it their sacred duty to protect humans from them. Unwilling to harm the wolves, Carlisle provoked a treaty with the leader of the pack, Ethan Black, utilizing Edward's mind-reading abilities to communicate. The treaty was established in the boundary line for both the Cullens and the Quileutes. Cullens agreed never to hurt a human, which included never transforming a human into a vampire, since the Quileutes considered that the same as an unaliving. Both of the vampires and the wolves promised to keep their true nature a secret from humans. The family continued to move when necessary in Denali, Alaska. Carlisle found what he'd been looking for when he set off for America. A coven of vampires who shared his philosophy, drank only animal blood. Two covens ended up being close friends, viewing each other as extended family. Cullen family grew when they were joined by Alice Brandon and Jasper Whitlock, who had been traveling together as a couple. Since the family was now quite large, a new cover story was diversed. Devised. Edward, Alice, and Emmett were now to say they were adopted children of Carlisle and Esme. Jasper and Rosalie looked alike and was passed off as Esme's twin orphan cousins. Eventually, the Cullens returned to Washington State, this time to Forks, somewhat north of the previous location. Carlisle took a job at Forks Hospital and became well regarded in the community as a doctor and a citizen. Famous quotes. New Moon, Chapter 2. I looked at my son, his strength, his goodness, the brightness that shined out of him. How could there not be more for one such as Edward? Chapter 25, Eclipse. I've never been to Sorry, I forgot how funny these books are. Veterinarian school. Breaking Dawn, Chapter 12. I can imagine what you think of me for that, but I can't ignore her will. It wouldn't be right to make her to make such a choice for her to force her. Breaking Dawn, Chapter 22. She hasn't gone for his throat even once. Breaking Dawn, Chapter 34. This is an interesting twist, like she's doing the exact opposite of what you can. Okay, I'm going to stop there and then I'm going to pick up later. Talk to y'all later. 7 if you're out.